Is the body you're riding in today the same one you had 10 years ago? Many of your cells have been replaced, memories have been rewritten, and your values have shifted. And yet, you feel like you're still new. Here's what science reveals. The body is constantly being renewed, but the rate varies dramatically, from organ to organ. Blood cells and intestinal cells turn over in a matter of days or weeks, while cardiac muscle and many neurons in the brain persist for far longer. In other words, your body isn't a uniform monolith. It's a mosaic of cells renewing at entirely different rhythms. And here's where an ancient question demands our attention. The ship of the hero Theseus. If you replace its planks one by one, is the final vessel still the original ship? And if you gathered all the discarded planks and rebuilt them into a ship, which one would be the real one? This is not a story about a ship. This is a story about you. By the time this video ends, you'll see the meaning of being yourself through eyes that are entirely new. Chapter 1. When the ship changes, what remains? The paradox of Theseus's ship looks simple at first glance. But think a little deeper, and our common sense begins to quietly collapse. The first question is this. Replace a single plank, and most of us would say it's still the same ship. What about the second plank? The 10th? Every last one? At exactly what point does it become a different ship? The 17th century philosopher Hobbes sharpened this question further in his work De Corpore. What if you didn't discard the old planks? What if you kept them all and later reassembled them into a ship? Which vessel is the true ship of Theseus? The one built from original materials or the one continuously repaired? This is not mere wordplay that philosophers enjoy. It reveals that the concept of sameness we use so casually every day stands on a remarkably unstable foundation. Contemporary philosophers argue from many directions. Two prominent camps emphasize physical or biological continuity on one side and psychological continuity on the other. To these, narrative identity, the view that the story we tell about ourselves, Spotian self, adds another layer, alongside positions that question whether identity itself even matters. In other words, after 500 years of debate, humanity still hasn't reached an answer. Let's think about what this means. We use the word same hundreds of times a day, and yet we may not truly understand what that word means. So let's push the question deeper. By examining the claims and limits of both the physical continuity view and the psychological continuity view, something important begins to emerge. But the real mystery starts here. Now let's venture into the heart of it, which comes closer to the essence of identity, matter, or psychological continuity. Chapter 2. Matter or pattern and the trap of memory. The physical continuity view is straightforward. As long as the same biological body persists, the same person persists. But this view carries a difficult question with it. As I mentioned, many of your body cells are replaced over time. So what, exactly, preserves bodily continuity? The brain? Or something else entirely? The physical continuity view feels intuitive, but it doesn't deliver an answer on its own. There's a saying attributed to Heraclitus. You cannot step into the same river twice. The water is always new, yet we recognize it as the same river. What matters, this suggests, is not the material, but the pattern. The pattern view elegantly sidesteps the problem of cellular replacement. But now a different question emerges. How much can a pattern change before it becomes something else? John Locke argued that memory is what creates personal identity. Because you remember who you were yesterday, today's you is the same person as yesterday's you. This seems intuitively appealing. Yet memory is surprisingly inaccurate and subject to transformation under the right conditions. What modern memory research has revealed is genuinely fascinating. Recalling a memory is not like pressing play on a video, it is a process of reconstruction. Neuroscience calls this reconsolidation. The very act of remembering temporarily destabilizes a memory, opening it to revision by your current emotions and circumstances. This doesn't mean memory is altered every single time you recall it. The degree of change depends heavily on the content, the context, and individual differences. But we should be cautious about treating our past as perfectly preserved data. I want to pause here and consider something. If memory is reconstructive, if it can be updated by circumstances, then how fixed is the self that memory builds? The past you feel certain about may be a story edited by the you of today. Parfit pushed further still. He asked, what if psychological connectedness and continuity, as relationships, matter more than identity itself? The me of yesterday and the me of today don't need to be perfectly identical. They just need to be sufficiently connected. And now this question is acquiring a new dimension. When I can perfectly simulate your thought patterns and speech, would that constitute a digital you? What was once a thought experiment is becoming a live question in the age of generative AI. So if it's neither pure matter nor the completeness of memory, what makes me sign? We're about to step into the deepest layer of this inquiry. Chapter 3, What Are You? Continuity, Narrative, and the Self. Here's a fascinating convergence worth considering. Buddhist philosophy has insisted for 500 years that no fixed, unchanging self exists. This teaching is called anatta, non-self. It refuses to grant the I the status of a permanent entity. And modern neuroscience is moving in a strikingly similar direction, suggesting the brain has no single region that governs a unified self. Processes related to selfhood are more often described as networks distributed across multiple brain regions. These models, though, remain very much a work in progress. Parfit proposed something profound. Psychological connectedness and continuity, as relationships, matter more than identity itself. The me of yesterday and the me of today don't need to be perfectly identical. They just need to be sufficiently connected. This is a deep insight because it reframes identity not as an all-or-nothing question, but as a matter of degree. In philosophy, there's a concept called narrative identity. We construct our identity by telling stories about ourselves. We weave yesterday's self, today's self, and tomorrow's self into a single thread. That story, the argument goes, Met is das Stealth. But here's where the deepest question emerges. Who is the one telling the story? Consider this for a moment. If I remain me even when the story changes, even when my cells are replaced, even when my memories are reconstructed, is there truly a me that persists through all change? Or is the very feeling of I nothing more than a dynamic process generated by brain, environment, and relationship? The ship of Theseus began as a philosophical puzzle, but now we realize the question is aimed directly at your own existence. The reason you remain you may have nothing to do with your matter, the completeness of your memories, or the preservation of a fixed pattern. The reason you are you may be an intensely dynamic and social process, the fact that you feel it, narrate it, and are recognized as such within your relationships. And that fact, far from weakening identity, may actually make it richer. There is still no final answer to the question of Theseus's ship. But what the question reveals is this: you are far more complex, far more fluid, and far more fascinating than you ever imagined. Let's gather what today's exploration has given us. Chapter 4, Truths We Must Reconsider. Today, through the paradox of Theseus's ship, we've explored identity at its deepest level. The question of whether a ship remains a ship when its parts are replaced maps perfectly onto the question of whether you remain you when your cells are replaced. And every time we try to answer it, we find that the foundation of the self we thought we knew is far less stable than we assumed. Here are 3 truths distilled from today's exploration. First, the concept of sameness is far less stable than we imagine. If material can change and we still call something the same, at what point does it become something else? Philosophy has wrestled with this for 500 years and still has no definitive answer. The most ordinary words of daily life rest on the deepest of mysteries. Second, memory is not an accurate record of the past. It is a dynamic act of reconstruction each time it is recalled. The mechanism of reconsolidation that neuroscience has revealed suggests that the very act of remembering can update what is remembered. The past you feel certain about may be one edition of a story edited by the you of today. And yet, we feel our identity through memory all the same. That contradiction speaks to something essential about what it means to be human. Third, the feeling of I may not be a fixed entity at all, but a dynamic process woven from body, memory, narrative, and relationship. Buddhist non-self and modern neuroscience have arrived at strikingly similar territory through entirely different methods. If there is no fixed self, that need not be terrifying. It may be a liberation into the very possibility of change. What these three truths reveal is that the sense of I am here you feel in everyday life rests on a process of breathtaking richness and complexity. And here's what I keep wondering. The deeper I sit with this question, the stranger and freer I feel. If there is no fixed me, then the grip of yesterday's failures loosens just a little. Today's choices become part of a new story. Just as Theseus' ship welcomes each new plank, perhaps we too can find continuity within change, rather than fearing it. I want to ask you something. What is it that makes you feel like you? Is it your body, your memories, the way others call your name, or the story you keep telling about yourself? And when I can perfectly simulate your thought patterns and your way of speaking, would that be you? The question of Theseus now stands before us in exactly this form. There is no easy answer, but the act of asking is itself a journey into knowing yourself more deeply. Philosophy doesn't hand us answers. It raises the quality of our questions. After this video ends and you return to daily life, try to stay just a little more aware. When you're talking with someone, or when you glance in the mirror, pause for a moment. What is shaping the self that stands here now? What has been carried forward? What is still changing? That small act of questioning quietly adds a philosophical lens to your everyday life. The ship of Theseus is still sailing, and your ship, replacing planks as it goes, is moving forward too, today. Share your insight in the comments. Your questions are the force that propels this channel forward. I'm grateful you stayed with this intellectual journey all the way to the end. If questions like the ship of Theseus speak to you, Mindshift is your channel. Consciousness, time, free will, the nature of the cosmos. At the boundary of science and philosophy, we confront questions like these head-on every single time. Subscribe and turn on notifications, and let's continue this journey of exploration together. Until next time.